Welcome back, one and all, to the land of sundered crowns. The tunnels and rivers beneath the Aglanon peaks in the dwarven kingdom of Gurdak. The group, the Lions of the Harashan Coast, is returning to Karak Agzor, the capital of Gurdak. After successfully rooting out and cleansing the lair of Kardak Bode, the Arcanist who was banished from that city for practices including necromancy. You sought to eliminate him in order to gain a number of favors. First, clearing the objection that High Archivist Dagnar had voiced to the stone accords that you had brought, the treaty proposed with Vanya and Avignosera that you brought with you from the plains. But also, on a more personal note, to access information that Gazbarak Thor, the arcane spire of Karak Agzor, had regarding the ability to contact Ursinals, the holders of knowledge on the celestial planes, which Wander hopes to use to learn the answers to some questions that have burdened him during his time in the Harashan Coast. Most recently, on your return, or in the final confrontation, Naira cast a very specific wish, altering the reality surrounding her mentor, Xavier Murdoch. And very recently, as you bedded down for your first rest following this event, a monodrome, a minion of Mechanus, the plane of order and natural law, had appeared and approached your companion Magnus. When it attempted to interfere with his coin pouch, containing the bounties from the court of Kelemvor, he objected physically and destroyed the drone. And since then, there have been no further signs of interference from Mechanus. But the group has been able to conclude its long rest. You each awaken, or well, in Wander's case, kind of just conclude your rest period. But one by one, you awaken, still in the darkness of the underground realm in which you are currently traveling, but feeling refreshed, invigorated, and slightly more powerful than you were previously, bolstered by your recent successes and the experience gained in your battle against Kardak Bode. As the new day starts, is there anything that anybody wishes to do?
Suppose just finish, prepping shit, getting shit put away and packed up, and back to Boat Town.
Okay. You guys are traveling north toward a set of locks that will bring you your vessel up above the level of Karak Agzor, allowing you to take advantage of the current and return back to the city faster than would otherwise be the case. With the exceptional navigation that Naira was able to provide and the very keen-eyed spotting of various landmarks and guide stones on the path that Wander was able to achieve the day before, you are once again on the road. Well, I wouldn't say on the road, but on the path, perhaps. Northward very quickly, heading toward what you believe to be the docks. You believe that you'll get to them today, and the boat travels onward. The magical engine that powers it, churning the wheels and creating a froth of water behind you. The eerie phosphorescence of this world, the glowing bioluminescence of various fungi and strange creatures in the waters. A now familiar but still kind of captivating sight as you pass through this dark world. The hours pass. Time as you traverse these dark waterways. The sound of the wheels, the thrum of the engines, and the turning of water, a constant companion to your journeys. Can everybody please, as you travel, give me perception checks?
Sure.
Okay. 1. Yeah.
First check. Oh, double ones.
Good boy.
Falco.
I
Okay.
thought that said Galahad, and I was so very confused.
Cole thinks it all the time too. You just can't kick Galahad out of the mine.
I mean, who could?
Quite fittingly, Wander, and as is usually the case, Wander, you are the first to see as your boat continues to travel. But very quickly after him, Uther and Magnus both also spotted, and Valko's head swiveling around as he remains coiled protectively around Naira in her weakened state. Hovering beside the channel up ahead, a monodrone, seemingly identical in form to the one that you spotted, and the one that Magnus destroyed.
Huh.
Hovering beside the river, its eye focused on the course, and as your boat hoves into view, the ball of its body swivels in the eye. Watching
seem to be-
your boat approach and pass.
Seem to be paying any specific person particular attention.
Give me an insight check, and with that perception, make it with advantage.
Yay! Insight.
Holy
That's
shit.
17.
It's hard to tell precisely. It does definitely seem to. It is obviously taking note of your approach and passage, and its eye is certainly taking in the entirety of your group. But with 17, you do believe it is focusing more so on Magnus than the others.
Interesting. Okay.
As you continue on, it does not move as you approach, hovering in place. As you pass, its spherical body swivels, the wings drumming above it. And unless you do anything, it quite quickly is left in your wake, and you pass.
It's very ominous.
Yeah, that does give you kind of the heebies and the jeebies, does it not?
Wait, what? The
What?
cave?
Oh yeah, you didn't see it.
He got that one. He didn't see shit.
Another eye thing.
You say another eye, he starts like squinting, and then hand goes towards his eye patch. You're like thing. It's like, oh.
And he's like, oh, wait a minute. It keyed in on Magnus.
What could I possibly have done to affect the denizens, or to so offend the denizens of Mechanus?
Has your purse changed? He says, kind of looking down at the area where it's kept.
Give me another insight check.
Inside, it's my time to roll high.
That,
Ah,
no.
18.
You kind of see him frown in sort of thought for a moment. He reaches in and takes out Kardek's coin again, flicking it over the back of his knuckles. With an 18, he's definitely like reflecting and thinking on something. And he kind of shrugs and says, "In truth, I do not know. As I said, I felt a strangeness when I returned from the astral sea, from the banishment that the Nexus, that Evrector character, inflicted upon me, but I cannot imagine how that would offend the denizens of Mechanus, or what business it would be of theirs, what bounty the court had me in this realm chasing."
Well, let's not jump to any conclusions. We still don't know that you have offended them.
I suppose that is true enough.
Can you ask?
Ask who? These small minions, these balls or whatever they may be, do not appear overly inclined to speech.
Your god.
Well, I am unfortunately quite removed from the court. Without a presence there, it is well, rare for him to be able to communicate directly with us reapers in the field. We are given a certain amount of latitude and discretion in our actions whilst away from his court.
We have to answer for everything, but as for on the ground rules, he's rather laissez-faire.
Indeed he is. Death has a measure of finality to it that tends to mean we are, well, we are all called to account eventually.
And after that, sorry, Wander's gonna keep his eye out for, like, actively looking for any more little ball men.
Wonder, is there no chance of you, like, communing? Maybe you could get us an answer.
Let me see what I prep. And then, without kind of taking his eye off the horizon and, scanning, for lack of a better term, he just says, "No."
Time passes on. You follow the river north, and eventually, after a number of hours of travel, the rougher passage that you have been following empties out onto a larger, wider, and smoother canal. For the first time in several days, you actually see other traffic on the river. Dwarven launches, whose wheels also churn the water, passing to and fro. For the most part, they largely ignore you, other than ensuring that there are no collisions as you travel the waterways. And with another few hours of travel, you arrive at the locks, a great set of constructed gates that will allow you and other boats to rise or fall several hundred feet within the heart of the mountain to access new waterways that can carry you either to or from the great city of Karak Agz. Oh, I did actually forget if this is long rest. Thank you. Okay, there we go. as you approach, there is a gouty-looking dwarven lockkeeper and a somewhat fortified gatehouse that gives you a kind of that looks at you somewhat suspiciously, seeing that you are no dwarves. But since you are also not in obvious violation of any kind of codes or laws, they simply kind of give you a somewhat suspicious eye as you pass, but do not interact with you as you approach the lock itself. Over the next several hours, unless... sorry, go on.
No, suspicious, okay.
Over the next several hours, you and several other vessels are chivied into a succession of great gates. You hear the grinding of gears and great mechanisms turning and working in the stone around you, reverberating as the water boils beneath your launches, and you feel this strange kind of vertigo as water levels rise and carry you up and up through a succession of gates into the next toward your destination, which is the channel that, as I said, will carry you back toward Karak Agzor. However, Wanderer, since you are actively looking, and with your perception being what it is, you do not even need to roll to notice that both at the start and end of the lock, as your boat is carried up, 2 more monodrones are hovering in the darkness above, scanning vessels as they pass, and both of them appearing to identify, follow you with their gaze, your vessel.
He will reach out a hand and actually point out to them. And then to everyone else, he'll say, "More." Sorry, what?
What?
Baranor, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking me... everyone knew that I was sending to Baranor, but I don't think anyone asked. I mean, unless you would like to know. I didn't think it was pertinent at the time beyond we're returning. It was mainly just a threat. That's fine. At least the Great Seal didn't collapse.
Very quickly, you are released from the locks into the broader into again this one a highway, if you like, of the Dwarven Kingdom of Gurdak. A broad channel capable of having vessels much larger than yours pass each other without interference. Though, you know, their traffic is not precisely what you would call heavy by the standards that we would understand in the modern world. You do see several other vessels as you travel. Some are far larger than yours. Great cargo carriers, in some cases towing several barges behind them. These you quickly pass with your speedier vessel. Others are, you know, military ships, fortresses that float and kind of sedately and imposingly, in some cases moored at specific junctions. Crossbows.
Sorry.
There you go.
Can I try to hail one of the military vessels?
Certainly.
I'll like. I've seen Lorium do it, so I'll stick an arm out and just be like, "Excuse me."
I mean, yeah, they're like, as you have been approaching, not precisely pointing it at you, but there are like great kind of ballista mounted on the railings of this vessel, and there's a dwarf who's dwarfing it, if you like, who doesn't have it kind of trained on you, but is obviously kind of ready to do so should the need arise. He's obviously recognized that you are not dwarves of Gerdak yourselves. But as you approach, he's sort of has been looking at you, and as you raise your hand and hail him, he goes, "Gord, Dandash."
Hell,
Godvon, Korn Gandasht.
thank God.
And another dwarf, you see a helm, a slightly more ornate helmet present itself at the railing.
He said corned beef hash.
You said, "Bob, get the idiot translator over here."
And a voice in broken common says, "Aye, what wish?"
He'll look over towards Naira and say, "What were those creatures called?" The constructs.
Naira knows this.
Monodrones.
Monodrones. Monodrones?
And then to the dwarf, he'll actually probably look at the dwarf and then look at Uther and go, "Could you ask about them?"
Are you kind of, by the way, are you sort of like going into
Yeah,
neutral?
like,
so you're pulling up
To
alongside
slow down
him?
as well as I can. I'm not
Yeah.
just like starting a conversation and then just
matching speed. Okay. Yeah, as you do so, like you see kind of several more dwarves sort of starting to pay attention to you, as like people sort of realize that a thing is happening here. But yeah, the what you recognize as a sergeant's helm is looking down at you.
Mr. Uther. Uh-oh.
Rise,
Mr. Uther?
Mick.
He'll then turn towards the dwarf. Damn you, Mick. And just start saying in his best Carvalian Dwarvish, and just go, "So these floating drones, these scouts, have you been seeing much of them? We've seen quite a few of them watching us on our way through the mountain caverns."
No. You call them.
Definitely being watched, so perhaps watchers a better term. Monodrones, as he'll do the, wave his hand over minor illusion and have it, appear floating in his hand.
He seemed to be kind of considering, and then as you conjure this image, he says, I believe we have had reports of such things. We have not seen them ourselves, but several merchants have reported that they have been observed by such creatures. Have you information as to their nature?
He would pause and he would elaborate on their nature and then just shrug and go, "Sadly, though, I don't have much beyond that. Strange creatures, but they seem to have been watching us. We were just taking a look. If they were much more common than I had first suspected, or had only began to be able to notice them."
And the dwarf shakes his head and says, "No, the reports of them are new. Only within the last day or so. I myself have been on duty in these tunnels for several decades, and seen naught like them before."
Just nod and just say, "Well, keep your eye out then. We saw one around such and such turn in this one lane a while ago, so if there's any more, that's around where we saw it, and then give him a shrug. Thank you for your time, and then he'll switch back to common and just say, nope, doesn't seem exactly new, doesn't know much about it. You got any questions for him? As he'll then just go, and this way's the best way to get to the where we're looking, and just kind of get the re-explanation, make sure we're almost there. You know what I mean?
And the dwarf sergeant that you're speaking to does kind of nod and say, "Aye, with the current aiding you and a vessel of that kind, you should be back in Karak Agzor within 2 days, or within 4 tides or so."
Hey, much appreciated. And then say,
These
any other
creatures,
questions?
You called them mono drones, yes?
Nod.
Do you know if they pose a danger to the denizens of the waterway?
We might have overreacted at one and struck it down. It didn't seem entirely too difficult. Though, as he shrugs, I'm not sure truly either way. Though, I have to admit we've had no harm from them. I do not understand their exact capabilities right now.
I thank thee for the report.
I thank you for your guidance. Be good and take care of yourself, Sergeant. Unless there's anything else in common towards the group.
Nope. Shake head no.
Give him that, like, bow and then, sally forth! And throw forward as we begin to turn
Go
away.
and keep thee.
But a rock and stone, and then I release the.
And you journey on. Throughout the rest of the day, you have several hours more before you kind of begin to come toward the end of the day. The channel that you travel on is wide and broad. You see several other vessels, as I said, on your journeys. I wouldn't say that the traffic is particularly heavy. Most of the vessels that you see are clearly those intended for longer trips, either carrying a large load of cargo or specifically serving a local kind of small settlement. You do pass several small villages. But as you travel, you do see very little sign of more of these monodrones or minions of Mechanus. As the night begins to draw in, and you pass into a area where the river widens into almost kind of a flowing lake, you do see at the entrance to this broader area a monodrone hovering. Watches you pass, but makes no move to.
It's 5 now, eh?
With the night closing in, or with evening at least closing in, are you guys going to attempt to stay on the river throughout the night and drive in shifts, or are you going to seek a mooring?
I kind of want to drive. I know probably not the best idea, but I do want to drive. Should I not? He'll just be giving everyone a grin, looking at the boat.
I'll be here. Should you fail?
Can't you just like do the stand and zone out thing you do just like a foot or two away? And then I can.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's try and drive through the night. I only need 4 hours to be, actually asleep. And I can be moving for the rest of the 4. And that gives, as he gives a smile towards Naira, 2 hours, and then Wander's just standing there, prepared to jump in the whole time to help guide us, I think we should be okay.
As long as I can rest, I'm fine.
Wonder we'll move away from the levers.
Okay. So, what is going to be the watch schedule, or driving schedule, I should say?
I'll drive the first two, and then we can split the back two. Which technically Wander can take one of those.
Yeah, could do what, Lorium me?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so
Wait, we got a
and
Catman.
Lorium.
Make Catman do some work.
I mean, if someone wants to take one of my shifts, they can.
If invited, Magnus will shrug and say, "Well, I cannot say I have ever had the privilege of managing such a mechanism before, but I can certainly give it an attempt. Keeping it on the straight and narrow seems relatively simple."
Yeah, and Wander will be standing just a few feet away. Alright, I'll go first, then Maggie, then Lorium, then Wander. And then Naira gets to sleep through the night. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, second, go, ready. You all settle in. And sorry, what was the schedule there?
Me, then Maggie, then Lorium, then Wander.
Okay. Uther, please roll me a 1d6.
Glorious. D6.
Don't recharge the fire breath. Yay!
Okay. And then please do give me a sleight of hand check to manage the boat as you travel.
Excellent.
Hey!
Okay.
Got him.
Uther, with deft skill, recalling perhaps a previous time in one of your many lives where you have managed a vessel of this kind, handled controls such as these, dealt with these kinds of mechanisms. You, with great ease, are able to keep the boat on track as those around you settle in. Valco curled protectively around your wife in the toward the front of the vessel as the others relax around you. And it is in the second hour of your watch that I would like you and Wander, with your ever watchful status, to please give me a perception check.
Okay.
What? He's living his full pirate life, just for no reason, just got the gun out, grabbing onto the wheel, nat 20
Just driving with one foot on the wheel.
Yo ho, yo ho.
Used minor illusion to give himself a pirate hat.
As the vessel passes through the dark water, you've become used to the flickerings of bioluminescence that are the only illumination available. The distant glimmers of lanterns from other vessels providing very little illumination, and the glow of the lanterns of your own ship doing little more than giving a texture to the dark water around you. And so, very quickly, a new source of light almost immediately draws your eye. Wanderer, just a few moments behind him, your eyes are also, or your eye, I should say, is also drawn to the same. On the water, several hundred feet ahead of you, a glowing emanation of light flickers into existence above the water and begins to expand out slightly.
Just do that, like, look towards Wander, look back towards it. Be like, do you have any idea what that is?
No.
Go ahead and give me an Arcana check. Since you
How
are
good?
half proficient.
You're just always so stoic and silent. I just think you always know what's going on.
I don't.
16. You
Ooh,
can discern-
actually, that would be +3 more, 19. Because I rolled it with intellect Arcana instead of charisma Arcana.
Oh no, this would be intellect Arcana.
Oh, okay, then 16.
It's fine. You're so smart. You're so smart.
But even with a 16, you cannot be certain what type, but you are fairly certain this is the precursor to a magical manifestation of some sort. The patterns that you can see in the swirling light, the way that it is bounded with and coalesced within a certain area, you're fairly certain this is the nascent stage of a manifesting magical circle.
Just say, oh, wait, I think I know this one. Snaps fingers, points at it. Manifesting magical circle. Wait, this could be good or bad? As he would just put his fingers into his lips and do a good old-fashioned, like, cowboy whistle. It's just, yeah, which all of you would recognize. That's his alert sound going off.
Right?
As
As
it
always
is-
super sensitive ears.
All of you are called to wakefulness, and looking up and gathering your wits for a moment, you are all awake as over the several feet above the surface of the water, as the boat carries you towards it, lines begin to draw themselves in the air, quickly forming a geometric pattern that expands and draws itself out, that you, Naira, would immediately recognize. Very acutely recognize as, and with a 29, this is a circle of destination for a form of teleportation that crosses not just space, but also planar boundaries. A very targeted form of plane shift is essentially what you are watching manifest ahead of you as the boat carries you toward it.
Now it just goes, oh shit! Oh!
Incoming or outgoing? It's incoming, right? Okay,
I'm
just double
incoming.
checking.
Naira's assumption is we're about to get some answers.
You're about to get what?
Some
Some
answers.
answers.
And as
Something's
your
about
boat
to arrive, you guys.
approaches, and you all watch figures shimmer into existence within and around the circle.
The fuck is that?
Anybody who is viewing them can go ahead and make an Arcana check.
Can I keep my 29?
But what if you get a higher number?
No, but you can roll with advantage.
Me too. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. You're literally dumber than a man of rocks.
$28, so might as well have kept the 29. So, as these figures shimmer into being and coalesce and solidify within the light that emanates from the circle, you all hear Magnus growl, "More Mechanus." But you, Naira, get a good deal more. You've been kind of thinking about Mechanus more and more, trying to recall what some of your tutors at Sorveni talked about of this this distant and strange plane of existence, and calling that knowledge more and more to the forefront. You are able to recognize some of these from images that were drawn within some of your textbooks and descriptions that were given. And you recognize these as essentially more complex and senior denizens of Mechanus. You know that Mechanus, as a plane of law, has an incredibly strict hierarchy of existence. And the most basic denizens of that plane, the monodrones, are, as you've discovered, incredibly simplistic, incredibly weak, more like kind of simple, motes of mechanism than actual beings. The creatures that you see surrounding are essentially the kind of soldiers of Mechanus. They are the kind of bulwark and front line of the will of that plane when it finds it necessary. When the denizens of Mechanus find it necessary to engage in conflict beyond their borders, the pentadrones are the leaders of that conflict. The figure in their center, however, is an entirely different matter. The Nonatons are members of the leadership hierarchy of Mechanus. There are, within Mechanus, with a 28 you would know, no more than 100 of them at any one time. And as one falls, another will be kind of manifested and promoted within that plane. The number of them is a fixed fact of the universe, and so as they are destroyed, they are reborn and regenerated in accordance with the law of the universe that demands their existence. And they are essentially the overseers and arbitrators of natural law and reality. When there are essentially untidiness within reality, they are that which is dispatched to ensure that it is in alignment with the law. They are also, in terms of their physical and combative characteristics, the pentadrones, you would know, like all denizens of Mechanus, are immune to anything that affects the mind. They do not have minds as mortal creatures understand it. They are beings of pure design, pure intent, pure law, and therefore cannot be affected by anything which would affect the mind of a mortal creature. But they
Do I believe
are...
they can talk?
Yes. Though in a limited fashion, only in terms of within their role at the time, and they are also primarily physical in terms of their combative nature. The Nonaton is a different matter. They are reputed to have powerful magical abilities at their command, and also be highly resistant to many forms of magic, be essentially commanders within the hierarchy of Mechanus, and they do have the ability to converse with and be understood by creatures that are not of a lawful nature. As your boat approaches, do any of you wish to take any immediate action?
I'm gonna start moving towards the front.
He would take a breath, realizing how they've been watching us, and then, with Naira giving me the mental collection of the next of it, with a 26, I'll just start doing that, like, drift, just slow, you know what I mean? Stop engaging the gears and everything to come up alongside. And I'll,
ping where you would like the nose of the boat to be.
I think probably right about there.
Okay.
Ah!
Group.
Blub, blub, blub.
Oh, hang on, let me get it in better alignment with you.
Ah!
There we go.
And then I would just turn for a moment back towards the water behind the boat, and not hide it. If we're casting spells, definitely not at each other, but around each other, then this is what we're playing at. And for the figure behind, kind of back here, I would do a full size, like, water splits apart as Avatar of Kalimvor will just rise out of the shadows of the water. And just stand there. The figure I remember meeting with Naira. Not like his, Doombringer form or anything, but just enough to be like, oh, you're from there. Here's where I'm from. Yes.
Okay.
As just have it, just watch, essentially, just to remind him Death is watching whatever's happening here, as they seem to have been paying attention to us.
Watches you do this and turns and sees this great manifestation appear. Takes it in for a moment and then turns back to you. Points to and as you watch, you realize that this figure is 9 ways symmetrical. Its head is a nonagon, and each of them has an identical face. It has 9 arms that come out from it. Beneath them, 9 tentacles that also end in 9-fingered hands that kind of swirl around it in geometric patterns, and turns to you, and one of the faces, the mouth, moves, and you all hear in your minds a voice appear as 3 of the arms which are facing you point. And it says, "Law is broken. Give, break. We will fix." Break is ours to fix. Sorry.
What is broken? What do we need to give you?
The arms focus in, clicking mechanically, all of them pointing at Magnus, who sort of bridles and kind of hunkers down a little. Says, "He carries that which should not be. Law demands it not be.
Are you talking about your new coin?
And Magnus kind of, if he thinks he has taken a bounty from me, he is sadly mistaken. What business is it of Mechanus if I have collected a bounty for the court? The coin is minted. It is mine. And the Nonaton goes, not that. No, I will take. It begins to move forward. One of the hands reaches out, and Magnus again kind of like brings up his claws, his lips curling back in a snarl, and goes, "The hells you will!"
Maggie, check to make sure there's nothing on you that is not the coins that they could be looking for. Any other crystals or the like that we might have snatched up.
As it starts to move forward, Wander's gonna go, explain.
Explanation has been given. He carries that which should not be.
Elaboration on that should not be requested.
Give me a persuasion with advantage for phrasing it in that specific way. That was very good.
In another life, Peter is a computer science major. Hell yeah, he is.
It does not turn, but you feel kind of a flicker, and the three heads that had previously kind of been active, the one that is most directly facing Uther now kind of seems to awaken slightly and speak to you. Kelemvor, Carvalen, Bridge. Authority recognized. Bounty error. Repudiation requested.
Bounty error. Are they talking about an unminted coin? Is it possible Kelemvor has recalled the bounty?
Magnus says, impossible. The bounties are things of fate. They cannot simply be discarded. The Nonaton says, correct. Bounty removed. Bounty is no longer valid. Must be erased, eliminated. Reality, law, demand.
You'd see as he would take a minute, tilt his head, and go, wait, Naira, do you think this could have something to do with some splashes because of your magic?
I think that's probable. Yes.
Magnus kind of bridles. What do you mean? What magic could possibly interfere with a court's business?
Dimension twisting one. You remember how you asked me if I ever had casted Wish and I told you I was too scared to ever do it?
Yes.
It just points at Naira.
Naira, sorry, what were you saying? You were coming through very quietly there.
I said I do not have such qualms.
And you see him, like, look between the two, this look of kind of aghast, enraged astonishment on his face as he puts a hand protectively over his bounty pouch.
Magnus, do you know how many bounties you should have? How many coins should be in your purse?
And he kind of seems to think for a moment. He goes, 17.
And how many? And that's how many bounties you have remaining?
Souls to be claimed on this blighted coast.
How many coins do you have?
And he sort of picks up his purse and opens it. 18.
Oh,
There are 18 unminted coins.
yes.
But
I think another Maggie's missing his coin right now. We crossed dimensions, and I think coins, like you said, are fate forged. He's not on this.
coin. These are mine. I cannot give one up. Not to him. Not to anyone.
Well, Magnus, you said yourself you should only have 17.
And yet I have 18 given to me by the court, and 18 I shall fulfill.
I think if you want to keep the coin, you're gonna have to leave some behind and go with them. As he gestures.
And he sort of looks at you. You would have me surrender a bounty, Uther?
We have to be on the right timelines. We don't want things to get twisted.
I don't think that bounty exists anymore. No, Magnus.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Dr. Freud is just like, hello.
Wonder out loud just said, excuse me?
Uther, give me a persuasion check with advantage.
Lorm's just like, why do I feel like I'm entirely left out? Ha!
Hey.
Hey.
And Magnus kind of like, you all see like the fur on his back and hackles raise, his mane kind of rustling as you see like a physical shiver run up the muscles of his back and neck. Before he kind of...
They're aware who we are, partner. And I think they're trying to make sure that everything works out like it should. You should have 17, not 18. Listen, I'm not questioning you trying to be afraid of fulfilling a bounty, but you know I'm the same. This court matters more to me than anything and everything working out. They knew who we are. I think they're trying to help. Might even be working with him. You were too close to the blast, or maybe too far away, being in the void.
Oh, yeah.
And
What if
take your
evil one-
coin, creature? And he holds out his purse. Oh, well, sorry, continue.
I just, what if that one that needs his soul collected now can't because you got too big of a wall between you?
And he just kind of like he sags slightly, this confusion writ across his face, and he holds out his purses. Take your coin, creature. He sort of looks away in this half disgust, half like anger, as one of the Nonaton's arms.
Does he fuck it up a few times like a claw?
Drop
with-
into the water, hand goes down, misses.
with mechanical precision, actually, just there is a sound of as a coin is seized, and it rises. Between 2 of the 9 fingers is grasped an unminted silver piece. Magnus kind of... Sorry, go on.
Who did that coin belong to?
Error. And you watch as the hand actually retracts all the way into the body, vanishes for a moment, and then re-emerges. The nonaton the hands again swirl around it, this strange, complex, geometric pattern weaving in the air for a long moment. And then the nonaton goes, error captured, rectification enabled. And it retreats back into the magical circle. And you all see light flares again. And just as they appeared, they vanish. The lines of the circle flare and begin to unravel themselves. And as it disappears, finally the light that had formed winks out. And Magnus
Naira is absolutely beaming, by the way.
What in our nation are you so pleased about? He's kind of holding his coin purse, like, close to himself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just... It's nice when things work out. That's all.
Roughly pulls the purse closed and shoves it into, into the inside pocket of his jerkin. It must be, yes.
Can I was just gonna say, can I most pertinently Naira give me a perception check?
Come on, nat 20. Or 1.
Perfect.
No.
Little do you know, I rolled a sleight of hand to Andrew, got a 2, and I stole your hat.
I wasn't wearing the hat at the moment, I don't think.
Doesn't matter, stole it. Cool.
I'm just gonna
Neat.
look between
I'm
Uther and
missing-
Naira. Oh, go ahead. Both of you.
Oh, go ahead.
Were you done, Tyler?
Oh yeah, I was done.
Look between Uther and Naira and just... What is it that y'all know that we don't?
I am looking at Uther. And to him, I would just say, I suppose I should tell everybody.
Yeah, do you want to tell him or do you want me to tell him? With some pizzazz.
I'd rather than no bullshit answer.
I think I owe it. To release Hendal and stop Evactra, or Evrakta, that's it. I didn't just release the magic of the Nexus, I repurposed it. You all, at this point, I believe, remember your brief interactions with Lord Murdoch rather positively. He
I
is a
mean,
good
yeah, he
man.
wasn't bad.
That hasn't always been true. He I discovered after we all met that he was an evil man, doing a lot of terrible things, including responsible for the torture of Midnight for years. Turned him into an assassin and a murderer.
Wait, Scout
But more
being an
than that,
assassin? Is he alright then?
yeah, he should be fine now. He had a lot of dealings with really problematic things. I know personally that there was a connection to undead powers. He was actually the reason that I had been kidnapped and, well, murdered.
You mean the shit Bartrand did to you?
Yeah, Bartrand always did do that, but Bartrand had been working for Murdoch. And anyway, long story short, as it were, the the magic in the Nexus, it gave me the power to rewrite the fate of one person. And so I wished that Lord Murdoch was always the man I thought he was. A good, caring man who didn't hurt people or make child soldiers. Just a good man. And apparently it worked.
I was just gonna
A
look at
lot of
Uther. Go on.
just a lot of things. I'm remembering them differently now.
Looking at Uther, he's just gonna say, so you can just do that? You could just change a whole person's life?
You see as he frowns a little and nods as he says, "Yeah, with that kind of levels of magic, stuff can get a little bit odd. I always was nervous about using it. You think you want one thing, and magic's a little bit like electricity. It just rushes to wherever's the easiest. Yeah. It cheats, so to say. You might wish someone was dead, and it finds it's easiest to move you 500 years into the future when they've died of old age.
I should also say I wouldn't have done this except I firmly believed that Kellamvor was guiding me to do it. I asked for his help and I got it. I I think Kellamvor saw the opportunity the same as I did to right a wrong, a great run. Or maybe it was just a gift.
Huh. He's just looking back and forth between you two.
As you see him take a moment to like take it in, as he shrugs, as he says, "If you felt it was Kellum for, I got nowhere to complain. Say what you want about him. He's always fair."
Well, I feel like y'all are taking this a little too lightly. What you're describing as some big shit.
Oh
Have
no,
y'all
I
ever done
definitely
this
get
before?
that. I'm kind of terrified, but doesn't much help. And if you had to pull the trigger on something, I don't know if any one of us would have been able to really make some better of a choice. What if you'd wish that the steel predator, or whatever the thing is, was gone, or it was no longer hunting your friend? Well, maybe it's hunting you now, or something of the like. You never exactly know. And if you felt Kellenvor was guiding you, I'll take it. Especially if it's about Murdoch. I quite like the guy. He's very nice. Has good selection in cigars and sandwiches. And I do like what are those called that he got me into? Mojitos. Just as he pauses. Just thanks, Maggie. I know
What?
making things right. Giving up the coin. I know if someone was trying to just grab it and I didn't think so, I would have just fought him to hell and back with you. We'd done it before, to be fair. Literally.
He kind of, you see a half smile cross his face as he remembers the events that you're alluding. Remembers fights gone by, bounties previously collected. And he glances between you and Naira. And just sort of, shakes his shoulders and his mane loose a little bit. Let's just get to the city. I got 17 more bounties to collect.
And on that, you want to be famous or you want to keep it low? It's up to you. I can allude to you, make you look rather cool, big lion coming out of the shadows and the like. Or I can make you one of the newer centerpieces and help you get around a bit easier. But then again, people know your face and more people will be taking a swing at you, of course. Up to you, boss.
He looks sort of thoughtful for a moment and then sort of shrugs and just goes, leave me out of it. I like it when they don't know I'm coming for them.
Your wish is my command. And he'll smile. Back to the city then. Sorry to wake everyone. I wasn't expecting, those coming by to balance the dimensional schemes of things, but I guess I'm glad they did.
And with that, you are all able to resume your long rest. And though you were briefly awakened, and a conversation was had because there was no confrontation or violence had, it will not count as an interruption. So, Naira, that will count as a full day of rest and recovery, which will reduce the total from 5 by 2, including the day of rest that you have had. There are 2 days of weakness left. If you are able to have another full day of rest, then that will be sufficient to remove the exhaustion and weakness that you are suffering.
Hey.
But if anyone wishes, you may conclude another long rest, including rejigging any spells that you wish. And I had this a very warm day, so I've gone through my drink. I will be right back.
Aye, aye. Uther, do you start working on that the screenplay, if you will, on the boat?
Oh yeah, no, I've been like that's one of the Uther things that Uther does is like as much as it's like a stand-up comedian or somebody, you know, where they're like they just walk up there and they're just that funny. He doesn't practice or anything. No. Uther's so about practice. Like you understand why he's exceptionally a bit being charming. Like you're like, "Oh, he's done this like tens of thousands of times," you know what I mean? So you're like literally watching on the boat as like when I'm not driving and in the morning, just like camera angle here, should it be present? Like almost to the point where you're like, oh, he's a crazy person, you know what I mean? But when he finally gets it, because he's just that naturally high charisma performance, you're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you ever want to throw in and be like, oh, I want this, or do less of this, or don't have me talk, because he kind of like does make you guys look like that Hollywood thing where it's like Lorraim's being played by Brad Pitt. You've got
Yeah, and the real photo of us will be shown at the end. Yeah,
yeah.
and we'll just be like, really,
Him?
Sandra Bullock?
I mean, I don't think she was Margot Robbie pretty, but okay.
I mean, shit, fine. Then probably do you start resting after this confrontation, or do you keep driving to boat for a little bit?
Oh, well, that would be in the middle of mine. So I would keep my nat 20 and probably drive for the first 4, actually. And just keep going and then go over and...
And
Well, for the first 2, yeah, I would still call someone. Never mind. I'm balancing out things. And then over the next 2, yeah, before I'd have to rest, I would be working on the screenplay. It's fucked. Everything's ruined. I can't even tell the story anymore. What am I even doing? Actually, make it more green. Green lighting. The mood.
we gotta give it the Mexico lighting. Make everything orange.
Exactly.
If you insist.
Then
He's working on
at some
the
point
GRP
during
skill.
at some point during you working on the screenplay, then Wander will actually approach and just kind of listen and look at that process. And after a few minutes of that, he'll just say, "Hey, I make a request."
You kind of do that, like, pause. Definitely notice you're always watching, you know what I mean, with your perception, so it's not like he minds if you're over his shoulder. But he'll do that. Yeah. What do you want to throw in? I wasn't sure. Was there too much drums? Am I going too heavy into the drums?
He'll do a quick skimming of the pages, or, you know, a quick look through, see that most likely what he's looking for isn't there, and if it is, then egg on my face, right? But after he finishes that, he'll look at you and he'll say, "Can you at midnight?"
You see as he nods. Yeah. Well, I mean, where do you think he should be added? Or how should I present him?
Everywhere. He is a good scout. And then he just kind of eyes the wording, the workings for a bit.
He'll, you know, the scene rewinds as he watches, like, brings forward Scout a little bit more, presenting him on the back.
Just like, and that shadow is now a person.
change the lighting just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that. You want them more in focus so everybody can get a look. I was just always worried because he normally likes to. No, you're right. As he'll put him, and then begin to like present the scene where you see him leap into the air as the bow arrow travels out.
And for a moment, you see Wander's eye kind of dim in a way that, in a normal person, would suggest a smile. And he says, "Thank you."
Anytime, partner. Just let me know. I'm more than happy to hear your input. As he'll then just turn and go, you're fine with yourself, as it just goes to you, as it's just like, if there was the way to do the ultra Chad, but in Wander forged form. Just
I
like you're like
fucking got
having
you. I know what I have to look like. I fucking got you. This isn't what I look like, but
Holy
this is
wait.
it's this.
Just imagining Wander now with the
Yeah, except eyes are just like a bar. You know, that like light bar for your eyes.
And by the way, just a point of just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, Midnight has been with you guys everywhere that Midnight previously was. The only kind of difference is that when you left Perona, Midnight stayed behind to work on an errand for Murdoch.
Right. Holy shit! How did you find that? You could just look up Buff Warforged. Like, what is that?
That's the most perfect thing I've seen.
It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh!
That makes no sense. We went from just like, oh man,
Then
we
you
game
can
night.
go- then you have the
Oh,
wish
fuck.
version. Then you have the wish version.
That's the ultimate version. What do you mean? That's perfect.
Oh my god!
As it just shows you in the second picture, just leaning forward and everything. Perceiving.
And second point of clarification: when Wander said everything, he's referring to the start of hunting for Kardec and now.
Okay.
Uther can probably infer that based on where Wander interjected.
Yep. Well, as long as you're okay with more scout and your chin, that took me a while. As he then begins to just continue playing with it, and I imagine chatting with Wander and being like, "Oh, and this is why I do more red lighting here. You see how it's under his tone; it makes him look more angry." And then fall asleep.
Give me an insight check.
No, no.
Sure. He's not the himbo.
So close to 17.
Go himbo powers!
He's in refrigerator mode. He's sleeping again. Okay.
No, I mean, with a 9, like, yeah, he's with you. He's kind of like nodding and like, yeah, that's. Mm-hmm.
He's engaged, at least.
You think so? Yeah.
And then you turn around and he's faded back to the live stream. He was never there.
Wander got erased. Wander got Thanos snapped.
But we have Happy Midnight.
See, for me then.
Okay. So, the night wears on. You all engage in your various pursuits, and when you're not resting, the following morning, Valco, being
Ooh.
very vocally protective of the still weakened Naira as she nestles against him, and the vessel continues on through the broad waterways. The following day, you're getting closer and closer to Karak Agzor, and the closer you get, the heavier the traffic gets. It's now very common for you to see other launches, once every kind of first 30, then 20, then 10 minutes, and then as you approach the city itself, as the morning passes on into the afternoon, the traffic becomes constant. You start having to actually, make sure that you're navigating around other vessels. But without too many more difficulties, you find yourself arriving once more at the canals of Karak Agzor.
As we do, can I approach Lorian?
You certainly may.
I'm just curious if you have any other questions. I didn't intend to hide anything from you. I just kind of wanted to get out of there before I explained anything.
Do you remember everything? With your original?
In the same way that you remember a dream, I know why it seemed necessary, but I don't have all the specifics anymore.
Rewriting people like that just seems like something only a god could do. You sure he wasn't just replaced?
Well, the exact wording of my wish is that he was always the man I thought he was. How the wish did that, I don't know. But, I mean, as I said, I felt guided by Cannonball to do that. So perhaps it was something I got.
Yeah, just nod. So where we are now is basically the same?
Yes.
Alright.
Biggest difference for me that I can tell is I have more memories of happiness.
The creases in his forehead sort of lighten up a bit. Yeah, that's good then. And honestly, he sort of just drops it there.
She'll give you a sort of firm nod and smile and then go back to resting.
Hey.
By the way, can you guys all see the map properly and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was being weird for a moment, and I had to like go into my character sheet in order to move around on the map. But yeah, we'll move the map
Okay,
around rather.
Cool. But in what you would estimate to be the kind of early afternoon, maybe about 2 or 3 o'clock, you find yourselves pulling into the harbor of Karak Agzor. The city seems much as you left it. There's no obvious signs of unrest or anything of that sort as you pull in. Where do you go? Are you returning back to the same docks that you left from, or are you going elsewhere?
Probably the same docks.
Yeah, that's where I imagine.
I would assume just like
Okay.
beelining it towards Wander's goal.
Oh, we got to return the boat.
Yeah. Surprisingly in better condition than I thought it could have been in, which I mean, it really could have been much worse.
Okay. As you pull up to those docks, you kind of see your approach be noted, and it's like some calls go out, and the dwarven, or what you would assume to be smuggler, for you never actually fully able to confirm that, Tarkan, greets you once more. Kind of stroking his beard as you approach, and it seems genuinely surprised to see you. He's like, So, bro, you have brought back my vessel then.
Very much.
Sorry, go on.
Very much so, and in working condition. The lands of the Ration Coast are always good to stay in business with. We're good to our word. As it gives him just a smile. As
And,
you are to yours, with a little bit of a bow.
And he returns the bow. That is good to know. It is always nice to have reliable business partners. I trust the deal we made before we left holds true.
Of course, as soon as you were made aware it was of such severity and nothing just slight like sneaking around some old books like you had first presumed, you were more than willing to give all the information, being an upstanding citizen as you are.
Of course, I would never dare to impugn the honor of myself or Karak Agzor with anything but service to that which is right and proper. I thank thee for your aid in and allowing me to assist in any small way.
Of course, and it will be noted your enthusiasm to assist. And in case we have any business in the future, I imagine we'll both be working with similar enthusiasm, seeing the benefits of each other's partnership. And just give him a smile.
He he extends his hand towards you in the manner of the peoples of the surface, and says, "If it is all the same to you, I would rather that my enthusiasm go entirely unnoticed by most. But I do look forward with pleasure to any continued business arrangements between us."
He'll do that, like, think about it and go, wine. Elven wine. I'm serious about it. We'll talk. Give it some years, as they'll just reach out and shake the dwarf's hand.
He will shake it back, take possession of his launch once more, and wish you well on your journey, on your further journeys within Karak Agzor. And as you once more enter the city proper, you, passing through the dock area, the familiar scent of hot metal, foundry smoke, and the smell and sound and just texture of so many souls living in an enclosed space. The constant background re-echoing roar of inhabitants, and the constant clinking of hammers and industry enfolds you once more. And with the city laid out before you, what is your first destination?
Should we
Oh,
go
we
to
need-
the...
Go ahead.
I forgot the name of the place, but is this place? Should we go there?
Barak 4.
Oh, that is
What is the name of the main inn in town? Like the one we were staying at?
Tall House?
The Tall House. Yes, that is the name in common.
Okay.
It's Mendal.
I was just thinking,
Look at our note taker here.
they are rather wondrous central points, and we can always pay a couple silver to send out runners and the like, and let everyone know that the things are accomplished and get things in motion. As I imagine if we went to the main tower right now, there probably wouldn't be the group to meet with us. And I would try and like to assemble that jury and the like as soon as possible to present all of the new information, as well as the next chapter of our heroic exploits.
And that Wander will
like a
pipe
plan.
in. Wander will say, I told Baron Nor.
Oh, so we should head there right now.
I would like to.
Can we sail first? As he looks at Lorium, who's got like just rocking, just that huge backpack.
Worm's like, nah, I can go for another mile.
Well, I'm actually
No.
alright.
I mean,
Sunshine's with him.
you would actually know from your discussions with your dear wife and your experience in such matters. Gazbarak Thor would probably actually be the place that was most interested in purchasing a decent amount of what you gain. I mean, obviously, a lot of it was precious metals and mechanical components and stuff like that, which there are other guild houses in Karak Agzor that would certainly be interested in them. But a good portion of what you have with you would most likely have Gazbarak Thor as at least one of, if not the most interested parties.
Oh, never mind, Wander. You're so right. The more when my brain starts, and then it catches up. There's
It's the archives. Of course they're gonna want
Then
to
let's-
shit.
then let's start heading in that direction. But let me do one thing. 10 minutes. Oh, wow, wow, wow. As he'll summon his horse. it's big enough he can have his horse back.
Okay. What was the name of your horse again? I forgot.
Umbra.
Umbra, that's the one. Okay, so Umbra rejoins you and Sunshine. Oh yeah, Sunshine should have been on the boat with you guys. I forgot about that.
Oh, it's okay. I remembered. I was making sure there was enough space for a large creature there, and there was.
Sunshine and Umbra.
Poncho.
Your group makes quite the spectacle and draws a good number of very curious glances as you make your way through the caverns of the city. Two of you, Uther and Lorium, mounted as you are on great war horses, and Naira, in your weakened state, riding your faithful hound, Valko, who is almost as large at this point, and especially with the armor bulking out his shape, as the war horses that accompany you. You make your way through the tunnels, the locks and gates, and between the larger caverns, and to the main area where, upon exit, you do see the distant, almost glowing spire of Gazbarak Thor, the great pillar of stone, shot through with colored lights of windows and a subtle magical glow from the enchantments you know are woven about it. As you approach, it is very clear that you are actually expected, as before you have even arrived at one of the gates, as you approach the front, one of the stewards kind of leans over and speaks, and you see another of the pages that was on gate duty with him hurry inside. And as you approach, the steward that had leant over and spoke steps forward and kind of brings his fist together in the equivalent of a Gerdakian kind of bow or salute. Says, "Thou art the lions of the Russian coast. Aye."
Yep.
Aye.
A moment, then. Archivist Baranor has requested to be informed of your arrival and wishes to see to your attendance here personally.
Nod.
And upon your apparent acceptance of this fact, he just steps back and resumes his duty, begins talking to another visitor, basically checking their business there. And you wait several minutes. And where is my go? Yeah, hang on. Baranor, the familiar figure of Baranor, appears. As he kind of, as he emerges from the gate, he kind of shows up within the gate and nods to the page that had escorted him back, and then gestures for you to enter.
In we go.
Okay. The pages that had been attendants are step forward to take possession of Umba and Sunshine. One of them, with slightly more hesitation, steps forward toward Valco, giving you, Naira, a somewhat kind of curious and cautious look.
Oh, he's a good boy.
As you say, my lady. He sort of, like, he realizes that Valco doesn't have any reins to take and just sort of kind of, like, puts a hand on his ear and is like, come on. Which Valco, taking his cues from you, will allow himself to be led away with Sunshine and Umbra.
Guard the horses.
And as you guys, Baranor leads you inside into a small kind of side area of one of the foyers, where you have a moment of relative privacy, and turns to you, Wander, and kind of slightly inclines his head. Says, "I thank thee for the news of your success in removing the stain upon our honor that Kardek's behavior represented. But I must now ask thee to provide a fuller telling. If I seemed distracted when I received your sending, it was because it came shortly after a great upheaval was detected in the flows of magic and power. Whatever Kardek's research had led him to become, I cannot imagine that his death alone would explain such an event." And seeing Wander look over at Uther, he will turn his attention to Uther and say, "I trust that you have some idea of what I speak? A notion of the cause, perhaps?" Sorry, what was that, Naira?
Nothing. I was making a joke.
You see as he frowns and nods as he says, "Yes, I would make sure that we're talking in a place that is properly lacking of ears." As you look around.
And he nods and says, "Then come. The archivists have been discussing these events for 2 days now, and I would have them all hear your story."
Wondrous.
And leads you once more into the august halls of Gazabarak Thor. He seems to lead you down in and up into the heart of the spire, through magically illuminated tunnels of very finely worked stone. You are very clearly being brought into areas that are of great import. you can tell immediately from not only the size and spaciousness of the tunnels that you are being led through, but the very intricate carvings, tiles, and reliefs that are define the walls and floors. And he leads you eventually to a set of double doors. And when he pushes them open, you see within a reasonably small but well-appointed lecture hall, of the kind that Naira, you would be certainly quite familiar with from your days at Sorveni. Clearly an academic institution, and not even close to full, but certainly inhabited. You see, seated around the innermost rings, about half a dozen dwarves, all of whom are dressed in scholarly robes, bearing symbols and sigils of various houses, but all bearing the symbol of Gazbarak Thor. And seated in a large, comfortable chair at the center of the lecture hall, High Archivist, or Grand Archivist, Dagnar Tholin Udgera, is sitting with obvious authority, holding court, as it were. And as you all enter, she looks up. Ah, Baranor, I trust they have fulfilled your expectation that they come bearing an explanation. And he bows. He kind of salutes with his fists together and says, I believe so, my lady. Or our Grand Archivist. They have confirmed their success in dealing with Kardec, and have, I believe, a great deal more to tell us. Oh, and
I don't suppose they do actually have the cool glowy eyes going on, do they?
Actually, yes. Both of them are very obviously wrapped in active enchantments. I mean, at this point, like, certainly, or like, Wander has at all times a glowing blue-red eye. Naira's eyes are pools of black ink. And Lorium, at least a portion of the time, also has his eyes aflame with purple fire. So, it is certainly not like an unusual sight among your group. And both of them do also have eyes that speak to enchantments wrapped around them, and active magic on their persons.
They've got contacts of coolness.
And several of the other dwarves, not all of them, but the majority of the other dwarves also have similar kind of signs on their person, like subtle shimmer on their clothing, or in their eyes or on their faces, that speak of similar kind of active magics and enchantments. It's very obvious just from a glance that this is a collection of powerful and knowledgeable spellcasters.
As Uther will then turn and nod as he'll just look at the room and say, I would like to present it to you. You understand my understandings and controls with magic, its abilities, as well as to be able to show you. Will be through this form of musics. As he'll then just stride in.
As you approach, Dagnar raises a hand, and brings it down with a crack on the table in front of her. And then nods at this dwarf, who rises and opens up a great tome that he had been holding, leaves through it to a page that he evidently had marked, And those of you who are able to see can see that this page is marked at the top with a heavily stylized image or pictogram, if you like, of a memento mori. And the dwarf rises and intones and says, Uther of the Dead Stone, Naira of the Dead Stone, of Clan Lionsbane. You are brought to give testimony and archive knowledge within Gazbarak Thor. Do you swear upon the honor of clan and throne which you serve that your testimony and archive will be truthful?
Yes, of course.
I do.
He slams the tome. Dagnar then cracks her hand once more on the table and says, "Then begin.
Can I
We
tell?
all of us."
Sorry, can I tell if that was just like a customary or like system sort of thing, or if that was actually like some kind of magic shit?
Give me an insight.
Oi, Captain. We've got the biggest numbers, and I always roll them as well. So, ha. Well, that in itself, which is funny.
I can see it though. And given everything that you know of the dwarves of Gerdak specifically, what your discussions with Uther, at what you've seen of the way that they conduct business, and also the lack of any kind of obvious spell casting, you are very confident that that was simply essentially a form of ceremony.
Okay, cool.
Dwarves are somewhat sticklers for tradition.
I can tell, like how they made us just sit there and listen to them read our fucking ticket to enter 30 times.
And
Oh,
18, okay. And Dagnar, upon the conclusion of that, as I said, will crack her hand on the table once more. Say, "Then, please, Uther Lionsbane of the Dead Stone, begin your telling. What has transpired with Kardec Bode, and what actions precipitated the cataclysmic release of energy that we detected?" A great deal of... Oh, sorry, go on.
He would nod and just say, "Everything will be truthful, although you'll have to forgive my enthusiasm, as I do have a bit of a chance to exaggerate, but everything you will see is true." As he'll nod and begin to drop it down as it begins to play in. It'll be that moment where we're outside in the town and we're like, these guys have no idea what's going on. I don't think they're there. And then connect to to do like the message and have it like their minds are empty, and then all of a sudden ballroom blitz stuff is exploding and coming down at us. And then make our way quickly through to Kardec. And then I would show them everything Kardec knew and that was happening and that he kind of said, including with the Death Djinn and everything. As well as I would show him being like, you know what, you're right. I didn't want to and I was like, this is your way out. Kelimvor will judge you better for doing this than fighting against it. You know what I mean? Because you're going down either way. As then show that, and then make the way down. Epic crystal battle, which I would I would show that pace off all the way up until showing Naira, who's trying to control the spell and focus it, as really emphasizing as it's smashing in, as the rest of it's just punishing the rest of the group. As she's got on one hand the soul and then trying to break it free, as well as the death djinn trying to use it. And there would be that connection suddenly with Kalimvor shown, as it would be the voice of the woman in Dwarvish who would go, "Make a wish. The only way to break the bonds, undo the..." As she just pauses, as I would twist it a bit and just say, "I wish the world was a better place." Which is what she was wishing for, but it was not necessarily specifically this person, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. They all watch, and you all can see they watch in absolute stoic silence. All of them have open in front of them.
Oh, not my best showing. Oh.
Well, with your wife giving you assistance there, it's still pretty damn good.
Did you roll
out
with
of-
advantage?
You did.
Oh yeah, and roll your d8 to add to yours to make you look better.
Out of curiosity,
Is that-
do you include midnight?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I would show everyone doing it and having midnight portrayed in it.
Okay, 24 with a 15. That brings us to an average of about an even 20. So, okay. I mean, even
Average.
like you're not getting what you would call a lot of audience feedback on this performance. It's what you would call a low energy room, as these like half dozen very stoic, stone-faced dwarves just emotionlessly watching you give your best and just giving nothing back.
Yes.
As they occasionally like look down and take a brief note.
It's 2014 and we're
crowds
playing
are
a
real.
Let's Play in front of a fucking retirement home.
Let's do a check.
Yeah, like... You doing another check?
Yes.
He's like, I wanted to be high.
Yeah, that's what it. Oh yes.
One of them claps.
Can I give him my critspiration?
Uther, honey, you're making a fool of yourself.
No, but I will allow you to use your. I will allow you to use your critspiration to make your own check to augment him, since you guys are performing together.
No, I mean, no. I think that like, I'd rather him either just use it, or I will wait till somebody starts to yell at me, and I have to convince them that I made a good choice.
Fair enough. So what are you trying to do with this second performance check?
Just explain then the explosion of everything with the wish, and then make it. Then we started to push our way back here.
Okay.
As
Do you include the encounter with the monodrones and the nonaton?
yes, but I would have a short cutting on it where I would just kind of round the corner where it's like, oh, we're here on business of Kalimvor, and then like we'd be one of the figures with me would be like, oh, okay, well here's this thing so that you can leave, you know what I mean? Just to like round the corners real quick, you know what I mean? Shorten the book version of it, but essentially break down that we saw them, this happened, and then they left.
Okay. They listen, as I said, in very kind of stoic, receptive silence, seeming to take the occasional note when you portray certain events and things like that. As your tale concludes, and the images fade, there is silence for a few moments, but for the busy sound of quill on parchment as they each continue taking notations in the various books that they have at their disposal. And then Dagnar kind of flips back through a couple of the pages that she has been taking notes on and places her finger on a first point of interest and says, Kardec surrendered to your justice of his own accord.
You see some pause and then nod, rewinding it, removing some of the music, and I would replay it to them to the best of my recollection.
And she will actually hold up her hand and say, your tale has been heard. I require simply for the record points of precise clarification.
Understood. Yes, he did.
And Hendal, her soul had been reconstituted. You are certain?
I am.
And it went to the Allsmith's realm.
I believe Kellenfor was going to hold it for the customary 10 days before releasing it to the agents of the Allfather. But yes, I believe things were working now as intended.
Very good. And for quite some time, they basically go through a kind of just the facts, ma'am, kind of version of the story, where they ask for precise clarification on a number of details, mostly relating to the circumstances of Kardec's experiments, the nature of the Nexus and Ivrakta. Naturally, like this being the place that it is, the questions do involve a great deal of rather esoteric arcana, and so probably quite quickly they begin to question you more and more, Naira.
Yeah.
Naira would get out his spellbook and grimoire.
His grimoire, okay. And as you basically pull these artifacts free, you see eyes widen, and Dagnar actually kind of sits up a little straighter and says, "You have his grimoire, his spellbook."
Indeed.
They are bounty of the field of battle, and as such, honorably and rightfully yours. But may I request their submission to the archive?
What will you do with them?
His spellbook for study. As in life and prior to his exile, he was an archivist of these halls, a mind of brilliance, and his interpretations of common spells are worthy of understanding. His grimoire also for study, but much more careful study. The knowledge that you describe, the ritual that you describe, the interweaving of arcana, divinity, and planar rewriting, as demonstrated by Ivrakta, are abomination. But even in abomination, there is insight and knowledge, and thus value. He from your testimony came within a hair's breadth of shattering the Great Seal. Of breaking... Oh, 1 second. Of breaking Eller Nagrend. If I can glean any insight in his grimoire into a way to strengthen it, to make it proof to such attacks in the future, I owe it to Gerdak to do so.
Do I have any belief or reason to believe that they would be able to glean that information from the 40 arcana that I rolled when studying it?
I mean,
Would you like to know Naira's hesitation before you...
yeah. Tell me where Naira's head's at.
Naira is concerned because she does, based on what she knows they did to Hendal, and that incredible injustice, she does believe that they have demonstrated a willingness to be irresponsible with magic, which I am aware as a Christine of the hypocrisy of that, but let's not touch on that.
Give me an insight check. And given where Naira's head is at, roll it with advantage. Double 18s, okay. As you kind of think on this, and think on her request and the grimoire and the sort of the circumstances of your hesitation, you sort of realize that you don't actually know a great deal about the precise circumstances of Hendal's accident. The description that Kardec gave you was tragic, but did not actually involve a great deal, any significant detail about precisely what ritual caused her condition or what had happened to kind of cause whatever accident or event led her to be cast asunder.
Then I would ask.
Okay.
I would say, forgive me, but before I make any decisions on relinquishing either of these things, I need to understand exactly how Hendal was, well, left in the condition that she was.
And you see, and Dagnar kind of sighs, and you see her shoulders slump a little. And a look of actual, I mean, you can all kind of clearly tell, fairly significant grief passes across her face. She takes a deep breath and kind of sighs and says, "It was a tragedy. To build El Nagren, the Great Seal in your tongue. Nothing of its kind had ever been attempted before. We were tapping into the very fabric between realms, building fortresses of concept and will rather than stone and steel, placing towers and walls of magic and divinity that would guard the path of our people to your King's Bridge. It was the work of a lifetime. And it was a success. Until it wasn't. 3 times we had performed the ritual of building. And 3 times we had succeeded the 4th time, a sealing circle failed, and she was gone in a moment. A mind brighter than forge fire taken from us. And given, go ahead and roll me an Arcana for how you've kind of been like answering the questions that they've put to you about the and like also how open have you been with sharing information about kind of the nature of the Nexus and Ivracta and things like that.
Probably about 70%.
Okay, go ahead and roll me an Arcana. And again, you can roll with advantage because this is something that you have very specifically
good.
studied.
Oh, good. Awesome. 16.
And Dagnar kind of hesitates and then sort of shrugs and says, given your described role, I will trust that you have some level of understanding of what I am about to say. And then proceeds to give a fairly intensive and like high-level arcane description of essentially the ritual that she's been discussing. And basically talks about how they were using a series of magical circles to channel energy between the planes and bind it into a structure that would essentially form a fortified tunnel for dwarven souls to pass into the realm beyond. And how in the case of Hendal, one of these binding circles simply failed, and the energy was released, and Hendal was unlucky enough to be in the path of the released energy.
But why wasn't...
She describes... Oh, sorry, go on.
You have clerics, right? Why didn't you try to bring her back?
That is the cost of the El Nagran. Our souls go to the Allsmith. And once they pass beyond the gate, they are beyond reach and return.
Do I believe that she made it beyond the gate?
Essentially, yes. She was beyond this plane. And from your understanding of the Great Seal, it is basically like a fortress wall at the boundary of the plane to prevent whatever is siphoning energy from doing so to these souls.
I cannot decide now if I'm willing to relinquish these. I would like an opportunity to think on it.
She nods and says, "Consideration cannot be censored. Should you have further questions, I shall answer them if honor or tradition allows." For now, however, I must thank thee for thine actions. Though Kardec can, from your testimony, from what you describe, it is perhaps impossible to say if redemption can ever truly be his, and were it possible, it would certainly not be within mine purview to pronounce it. But you have saved the greatest endeavor of me and my kin from betrayal and destruction, and safeguarded the passage of the Stone Kin to the Allsmith's realm. By this action alone, honor would demand that I declare thee worthy. But thou hast also cleansed a wrong that has sullied our memories for 40 years, and in so doing burned away a damp that had festered upon our borders without our knowledge, and returned dozens of worthy stonekin to the Allsmith's foundry. She reaches her hand and brings it down on the table once more. The metal bound into the gauntlet of her scholar's robes, ringing against the table edge. The dwarf that had opened up the tome and read from the page with the memento mori turns and opens a new tome, coming to a page. Quill poised as she continues. By the authority of mine office and the wisdom of the archive, I do hereby declare that it is the will of Gazbarak Thor that the stone accords of the plains be considered by Karaz Rokstal and every effort made to join with our worthy allies of the plains in overcoming the corruption that has eaten at our foundations for millennia. And she turns then and focuses on you, Wanderer, and says, and I understand that there is a further request. You seek to commune with the Ursinals, do you not? To seek answers as to your nature.
He will actually cut her off there.
And she seems to take it in stride, unaffected, and then turns to Baranor. And says, Archivist. You still believe that the works of the Letad de Gask could yet stand? Tidings from the plains. Baranor bows his head and says, tidings from the plains suggest that at least some of the power is still there. In my first converse with the Lions, they told of a scholar of Sorveni. A tale she spoke of suggests that she had trod the halls and communed herself. And Dagnar strokes her beard and says, indeed. Then perhaps the Allsmith has handed us a sword now that our shield is made fast. Tell them of Karaz Barazad. Give them our knowledge of the Gardenals. Baranor bows. And then the others. No, yeah, they'll come back to that. And Dagnar nods in response and says, I am certain that you will have questions for him once you have heard his information. You may discuss this with him in his tower. For now, the Council of Archivists must discuss your tale in more detail. and decide upon the course to follow. And Baranor kind of bows and gestures for you guys to follow him.
I follow.
Most definitely. Yep.
Okay. And Baranor leads you back through the halls of Gazbarak Thor, and through to a somewhat familiar site, what appears to be his personal tower within Gazbarak Thor. He leads you up through several of the staircases, that the windows and balconies looking out from the spire over the cavern of Karak Agzor, and back to the ritual chamber where he examined you, Wander, in some more detail. Whoops.
It's not ominous at all.
I just need to tidy some things up. And then kind of sits you down. Or he kind of crosses over to one of the desks as you all approach, or as you all enter the room, and says, I must add my personal thanks to those of Dagnar for your actions. It is gratifying to know that the worthies I found when I ventured beyond Gurdak were not the only ones beyond the Stonekin. But for now, let me tell you a tale. The tale of our first attempt at battling the corruption that seeps and sears the souls of the plains. Letad Jagask, in the Dwarven tongue, means the search for an attack. Or target, perhaps, would be a better word. It was a great endeavor by mine ancestors, led by Grand Archivist Bagharad, a predecessor of Dagnar. It was he who first discovered that the souls of our kin and the people of the plains were being preyed upon, that their energy was being siphoned. And he sought, rather than to defend, to attack. But one cannot attack without a target, and so we set about searching for one. We learned... sorry. Things misbehaving. Here we go. We learned that there were anomalies with the behavior of planar transitions in this area. Something was taking power from the death and conflict that has reigned upon the coast for millennia now. When the Haraktan Empire of old seemed to defy its will and create a time of stability, Bagharad reached out. He allied with the Empire for a time, establishing cars throughout the plains to act as research centers for Dwarven and Dragonborn archivists, working together in tandem to locate the source of this vileness. I trust you know what became of the Empire. Fire and war and blood. And because we had invited them to share our cars, that fire and war and blood found its way beneath the earth and into the stone and laid us low. And so, many of the cars were lost. When a new empire arose with humans at the helm, there were some discussions of reclaiming these cars, of seeking out the knowledge that they had been able to glean before their destruction. And looking around at you, he says, I dare say, however, that those of you in this room know the changing and perhaps unreliable nature of humans. And so, after much debate, Letad Jagask was abandoned, and our efforts were turned to El Nagren, a shield rather than a sword, a seal to protect dwarves, rather than a weapon that could defeat and thus redeem all. This decision was made before ever I joined Gazbarak Thor. But it is one that I have long wondered at the wisdom of, and one that I am gratified to think may soon be reversed. The greatest of the Kars established during the Letad Jagask was Kars Barazad. In the foothills of the mountains north of the city you call Nebesta, a cavern of barter stone was found. And within this cavern we discovered a confluence of ley lines and intersecting planar influences. It made it an ideal place to search and find, and most importantly to your concerns, commune. There existed there, that I know from the records, circles and portals that certainly one of your nature and one of your understanding, as he gestures to Wander and Naira, could easily turn to your ends, to commune with the Ursinals, and discover, perhaps, some knowledge of the nature of that which infests the plains. If you wish to commune with the Ursinals, my advice to you would be to seek Kars Barozad. And on the table, he lays out a map, and bringing you all over to the Harashan coast.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
Points his finger. Here.
Holy shit, if we just turn left.
Unfortunately for your efforts, this Kars now lays well beyond what are considered the borders of Gurdak. Following the failure of Letad Jagask, we withdrew, fortified our position, sought the shield rather than the sword. That area of the Aglanon Peaks is home now to the darker denizens of the underground. Orcs, trolls, and the like at the very least, and possibly other denizens of the deeper dark may have risen to claim those caverns. But Kars Barazad itself was hopefully is, a place of power that is not easily abandoned. Much of what remains, and certainly if your librarian spoke truly that she communed with Ursinals there is every reason to hope that the old seals remain intact, and you will find there the resources that you need. There are two possible paths that I would recommend. The first, the Gierdvatten, and he pulled up another map, similar to the one that you saw earlier that showed the waterways around Karak Agzor. Although this one on a slightly larger scale, seeming zoomed out, showing what appears to be much of the Agranon peaks, and even a portion under and down beneath the Harashan coast itself. And he points to a great ribbon that runs out and down toward the west. The Gierdvatan. This great canal used to connect Gerdak to other kingdoms. Dwarven kingdoms deeper within the Underdark. The route to those kingdoms was lost centuries ago, however. And with the failure of the Letad Jagask, the way has not been kept open. What we know of the flow of water suggests that the path itself is still clear and could be traveled without, shall we say, material impediment. What other impediment may exist, well, that will be for the traveler to discover. But it is known that Kars Barazad had a link to the Gierdvatan here, and he points to an intersection. Were you able to find this dock, you should be able to gain access to the Kars. The only other entrance that I am aware of, and he pulls back once again the map of the overworld. It says, here. A celestial observatory was constructed as a part of the Kars. A volcanic conduit, inactive at the time, led from the Kars beneath the earth to the observatory in the peaks. Were you able to find this observatory? Well, geological features tend to last. And I dare say it would also provide you a route down to the Barazad. Which of these you would prefer to aim for or explore? Well, you know your resources and your methods better than I. But if you have questions about either, I am at your disposal.
It's a lot of information.
I feel like I'm looking at the Final Fantasy
More
VII World
dumb.
map again for the first time.
I actually just wrote like a high school one-page essay. Like, that's crazy. If I double space this bitch, I got 2 pages.
If you feel like linking that, just let me know. I want to play.
I didn't even get everything. I got like half of everything.
So I will give you a summary.
Finding a dock or going
here
underground
we go.
through a fucking inactive question mark volcano?
That is one route that was suggested.
Wander and Lorimer were like, will you take that?
Like, level's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad, but it's not that bad.
Just don't go swimming in it.
Yet.
Well,
For
we'll
you.
need to be able to reconnect with Scout.
Yeah.
Who's not afraid of cramped spaces anymore, eh?
That's true, and we will have to return. We wouldn't have to, but we should probably return with our party we left with from the city of the Empire. as well as
There's just a bunch of guards from Perona that have like been getting drunk in Mindhal this up for the last week.
Yeah.
honestly, they've probably been having a great time. It's like been the
Yeah.
easiest job for them. Don't pick any fights. Party.
Just keep the maintenance on this ship up to date.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's funny? We probably have Jaden and Paul back.
That is
Right?
funny.
Naira's biggest objection to them was actually that they reminded her of Murdoch's betrayal.
So it wouldn't matter if they worked for
yeah.
Bartran instead?
Yeah, if they worked for Bartran, she wouldn't have cared.
They're just mercenaries, yeah.
Like, now you work for us.
So we have them back.
Be like, yeah, that works. Like, yeah, they work for us now.
We never met Lorium's homies.
Nope.
I mean, you could still have sent out those letters if you wish.
That's true. We were a skeleton crew. Like, we had two people that were barely able to hold it together.
Ever since we got the boat and the little thing, he would have sent the messages out if the party thought we didn't have enough people to maintain a boat, or if we got a bigger boat.
We're gonna want a bigger boat.
Are
I mean,
we?
you're gonna have a fight to manage before too long, potentially.
I thought we already got that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No. If we succeed.
Oh, that was with this. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And we like pretty much succeeded.
And do all this stuff. I'm feeling good.
We're gonna have
We might get
a
more
little
questions and some other stuff, but I feel pretty good about it.
We're gonna come back from this, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, so by the way, we just, we're good. We'll just stay up here in our rock houses and our rock ground, and you guys can fuck off back to the plains. Don't come back."
All right, well, dwarves sometimes, man.
I mean, Uther, you would be aware that like the consideration of the throne of the Stone Accords is something that will take the Dwarven Parliament sometime. I forget what their Dwarven name is. Will take them some time. Like you would even if they considered it as a matter of utmost urgency, dwarves being dwarves.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
they're all gonna want to read through it. They're all gonna want to discuss it with their clan councils. Then they're all gonna want to come together and argue about it. You got a couple of weeks.
2 centuries later.
To them, gerrymandering is just politics. Man.
The Karazrok style, that's the one.
Kara's Rockstall.
Then with that, do you think that'd probably be more than it would be? And getting it through the main objections, do you think it would be understandable to be like, hey, we're gonna head back and start going to like collect the property, I guess? The barony, the dukedom, depending on
The fief. The fiefdom, yes. And, well, the fiefdom was yours upon acceptance of the Accords. So that would not be something that you would be able to go back and reclaim at this time. But if you did wish to go off and do, and basically run other errands or do other things in the meantime,
Perhaps
like
talk to space bears.
perhaps talk to space bears.
yes.
Like, you would basically, like, it would also be considered, like, now that you have delivered the Accords, like, you have your job is done. The dwarves would not consider you, as persuasive as you are, to have any authority to speak. The text of the Accords is the text of the Accords.
I got it through. Yeah, okay. I've got it done as much as I could.
Basically, yeah.
worry, I
Like,
got
you have persuaded Dagnar to withdraw her objection, and therefore, and that means that the consideration of the Accords will move forward. But what happens next is out of your hands now.
Pushed it off the cliff. Now where it lands, it lands.
Yes, man. The moon bear.
How did I get here?
There's a gift for everything.
Well, I guess as he would just kind of, through the earpiece go, I guess we could make some calls real quick. Just to make sure to see if anything else has been noticed or picked up from from your predator friend, as he gestures towards Lorium.
It would be nice to check in.
But if that will take a few weeks, might not be a terrible idea, especially if you're interested, Wander. As I saw your eyes doing the taking everything in as much as you possibly could. I think you like memory bank is what I heard you murmur. I'm not sure.
A couple of errors. Syntax error. 110110.
404.
10 gigabytes
Control delete.
remaining. Please empty recycle bin.
But well, so yeah, I mean, if you guys want to make some plans, and if you want to basically think of some questions that you might have for Baranor about either Kazbarazad itself, or either of the routes there, or anything else, please feel free to do that. We can, if you like, we can halt tonight here. You can think of those questions, and then we can start next session. Basically, in this office, you can ask those questions, get your answers, and then proceed from there. If you don't have anything that you want to ask him right now.
I do have a quick. So the Celestial Observatory is a little like normal outpost kind of thing, and then it leads into the main research center. The main center leads to Kazbarazad, or is a part of?
Kazbarazad is the main research center. It's essentially a large kind of laboratory complex, arcane laboratory complex.
And by lead to, it says that, it's connected via an inactive conduit, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something like just natural stone and like nothing built in that area, like a stone hall, if you will, or is there like, for lack of better objects, stuff like a desk here and like a picture there? Like, is it a like quote unquote populated thing?
It would have been at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, Baranor would explain that essentially the volcanic conduit would have been used as essentially the basis for the structure that went between the two. And yeah, like it would basically be kind of like essentially just a kind of private road, if you like, between the observatory and the main complex. So, like, the observatory was theoretically a part of Kazbarazad, but Kazbarazad was all the way down here in the underground, under the earth and under the rock, and the Celestial Observatory, being a observatory, was naturally at the peaks. So they were, it would probably be like maybe a kilometer or two between them, vertically. And yes, and the natural feature of the volcanic conduit would have been augmented and carved and built into to allow easier traversal.
Okay. That's probably all I can think of for now. We'll reconvene.
Okay. Well, in that case, we can leave it here for tonight. And yeah, when we start again next week on Saturday, you can, or during the week as well, if you want to message me any questions that you come up with or anything like that, we will reconvene and re-begin back in Baranor's Tower and see if any of these roads shall lead you to Kazbarazad and the Ursinals.
Space Bears. Next week.
Space Bears!
Yay, Space Bears!
Woo! We did a thing! We happened to fucking kill fucking somebody approaching lichdom somewhat. We ended a fucking demigod attemptee. We altered
Did we
reality.
really kill anyone though? Like,
No.
yeah, like it was justice what we did.
Yeah.
One of them literally killed themselves.
Exactly. The ends totally justify the means. 100%.
Yeah.
I am becoming more and more concerned that Andrew is keeping a running tally of every time Naira's been like, ha, no consequences, I haven't learned a thing, and I'm gonna...
He's every single one increases a certain spell save DC by 1.
Literally,
It's going to hit.
it's a tabaxi thing, and once you hit 9, you're just gonna get killed by rocks.
Not boulders, but multiple rocks.
No.
Just rocks fall and you die. You're gonna be like, what? Yeah,
She's
you ran out.
She's gonna drop dead. Uther's gonna drop dead. William's gonna have a heart attack. Wanda's gonna be alone.
It's gonna have a heart attack. That is fair. What if the only thing that manages to kill Lorium in this campaign is just a heart palpitation?
That's what usually does you in. The bigger the muscle, the weaker the heart.
See, but that's not really a consequence to Naira, because basically what you're saying is she
Damn.
dies, and then she ends up in... what?
Got on board's courts.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just ends up in, Uther's estate.
I think
Eleanor's court.
I
So
think
she's
his
like,
dam
"God,
was.
okay."
I think his dam was related to Lorium having a heart attack, and you just being like, "Well, not a consequence to me."
I didn't hear that part. I apologize.
Hey, Lorium's one really big friend. Just get him over here. He'll probably fucking kill it.
Naira's not worried about her own death, but she also hasn't like considered how that's going to affect other people.
Yeah.
She
I
doesn't
don't give.
think that her death would affect other people.
She said, "I don't care if I die. It ain't gonna bother me."
And everybody else just has their finger in the air, like, wait a minute.
I was like, no, hold up.
Oh, come on. I just told you something incredibly telling about Naira.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to move past it.
Yes, you have eternity secured. We get it.
Yes,
No,
the time
wait.
sword. We've all seen it.
I know, we're kidding.
Sorry, no.
We're kidding. I mean, honestly.
But yes, so. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, if we're thinking that way, Lorium's gonna be real happy after he dies too, anyway. But
Yeah, he's just gonna go to the eternal brawl.
every night's my night.
Just they finish dinner, and all of a sudden a horn blows out, punches the guy next.
Oh man, he picked up the tavern brawler fee.
Napoleon, you're such a good guy. I really enjoy this. We'll continue tomorrow.
I'm just imagining Tempest in a big chair at the top going, or like sitting on his throne going, the chair! Give him the chair!
Finish him.
Under the ring! There's gotta be something under the ring!
Some guy jump off a chandelier off the top rope onto someone. Like,
Have you seen Owlbear off the top rope?
But anyway, yeah, so we shall leave it there for tonight. You guys can debate and question to consider which of the routes you would like to take. If you do come to a decision during the week, I would appreciate a heads up, as that will be very handy in my prep. Otherwise, we shall reconvene, same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Yay!
Yay!
Have a good night, everybody!
Have a good night, everyone.
I've,
Hold on, wait, we might